Hi, good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you. Just wanted to jump on here, and today we're going to talk about anxiety and what that looks like for moms of defiant adult children. So we're going to talk a little bit about what does it feel like to have it, and how do you know you have it. And it's such a huge topic, and probably one of the things that I get asked about the most. So wanted to take some time to do that. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sally Harris, and I help desperate moms of defiant adult children. I help them create a plan. I help them with techniques and strategies to provide peace and hope and less anxiety in the long run for their own lives. So let's get to it. So as far as anxiety, there's so many different factors that come into this, and there's so many different ways anxiety can rear its ugly head. But one thing that I think, in case you're not aware of, I'm sure most of you are, but we have that fight or flight mechanism built into our being. Our Creator gave that to us for a purpose, and the purpose was in case we're being chased by a bear, right? It's an acute stress response. It's a physiological response to a perceived harmful event, attack, or threat to survival. And with what we're going through with our kids, it can feel like it is a crisis, and it can feel that way. And so our body reacts that way. So small stress in the short term is stress, and it kind of shows in different ways. But when it's chronic and it's long-term with what we're dealing with, it definitely can show up in some really crazy ways. So wanted to dive into some of those. So I want to kind of list a few of these and what does it feel like to have anxiety, and how do you know you have it? And I'm going to share a few personal experiences that I had along the way. As you know, I actually had anxiety for over 10 years while we were walking this walk with my daughter. And so, like I said, there's many facets of it. So the first one is exhaustion, pure exhaustion. That's kind of a given, right? So I'm going to kind of list these, and then we'll go through a couple today, and then some more tomorrow. So exhaustion is huge. Sadness. It can show up as sadness. It can show up as physical pain, actual physical pain. Worry, of course. The physical symptoms as far as headaches, dizziness, your heart starts racing, actual electrical zapping. And I don't really know what the actual term is for that, but that's how I've always described it to my doctors, because I always felt like I had this zapping going on the inside of me. So getting to the point where all of these feel normal, like this is your normal life. And we both know that it's not, and it's not meant to be that way. So just want to touch on a few tonight. And so exhaustion. So exhaustion, obviously if we're not getting proper sleep, that is going to mess up the whole rest of your day anyway, even if you're not going through a crisis like this. So you can imagine putting all the other stress on top of it, anxiety and not sleeping, not a good combination. So really looking at what I did for that was really taking a look at my diet. I'll go into this another time, but I had gained over 70 pounds during this time frame that I was under this chronic stress, and also became an alcoholic. So I quit drinking and I lost my weight, and the two of those together, I would say almost when I started to make those changes with my diet, because we both know food is a huge factor as far as how much energy you have. I've heard it said many times where we are, no different than a power plant. A power plant doesn't just have energy, it creates energy. And so we have to create the energy by the food we put in our bodies. So that's really crucial. The second one is sadness. I want to tell you a story about this in regards to what I was doing. The sadness was overbearing. You could call that into the depression category as well. But as far as the anxiety piece, my doctor had given me clonazepam. So I'll never forget that name, because kind of the PAM category. That drug was a situation for me that I love to share with people, because anytime I hear of anyone possibly being prescribed that, I'm not a doctor. It's just my own personal experience, but I will tell you, it was a nightmare to get off of. So I had been given it actually long before the situation with my daughter. I think maybe even like 5 years prior, just because I was having trouble sleeping. Okay. So my doctor gave me this and I didn't know better, and I took it and my sleep got better and everything was good, right? Well, then after I moved to Florida, let me back up just a second. So as you know, when you have to get renewals on your scripts, no questions. They never asked me any questions. I never even gave it much thought, just renewed it, whatever. So here I am taking this prescription for years and years and years. Well, your brain gets so addicted to that. When we moved to Florida, Florida has a different rule where if you're going to be on, I believe it's a benzo is what that's called, is what category that's in. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it is. But if for you to be on a prescription like that, even a prescription through a doctor, you have to have a drug test. So when we first moved here, I had to have a drug test for every 3 months, I think it was. And I remember thinking and asking, like, why am I having a drug test? I didn't understand the severity of what this pill was that I had been taking for years. And needless to say, long story short, I finally had a doctor that said, you need to get off of these. So it was a process of several months, several long months, sleepless nights to get off of this addictive medicine. So I tell you this because I just want you to be knowledgeable a little bit. Do your research before you jump on something like that. Because I wish I hadn't. And the hard part is when I was weaning off of it, my dad had died and I had already quit drinking, but I was under a lot of stress because of that. And so it would have been a good excuse to say, oh, it's too hard right now, right? I could have just waited. But no, I was halfway through my schedule, my weaning schedule, and I did it. And I'm so grateful that I did. So that's something with meds, with your anxiety and even depression, just make sure that you are really careful with what you're getting. Just be knowledgeable, do your research. That's all I'm saying on that. And then lastly, tonight, I just want to talk about physical pain. Physical pain can manifest in so many ways. Like I said, the headaches, chest pains, all of these things. One night I woke up and I was home alone and I had woken up with chest pains severely, and I thought for sure I was having a heart attack. And so after trying to move around, differently and so forth, I finally called 911. Ambulance came, took me in, and they didn't say I was having a panic attack. It was stress. And I remember that guy saying to me in the ambulance, he said, he asked what I was stressed out about. And of course, my mom actually had just passed away, and, my daughter was on the street and all of this. And I said, I was going through some of this stuff. And he said, if you don't get your life together, you won't be around when your daughter comes home. So he was the first of many people in my life that spoke truth to me. So just wanted to share this with you. And tomorrow I'm going to go into more anxiety pieces because it is so huge. So I hope you guys have a good evening, and I will see you next time. Thanks.